Well, hello there, all you beautiful spirits, and welcome to another message. And we are looking at today, celebrating just for the fun of it, because the world is such a dark, kind of dreary place. I thought, why not have some fun for the month of October, get more into our inner child. Remember when we went trick-or-treating, how much fun it was to do that every year and plan out our costume. I still love to dress up for Halloween. It's one of my favorite things. We are using the Edgar Allan Poe companion deck, which I introduced in the Aries Super Full Moon reading. If you haven't seen that, hop on over there and check that out. So I was very excited when I opened up this new deck. It's beautiful, and I really don't know a whole lot about Edgar Allan Poe. So as we're digging in here, we're kind of learning a little bit about who he was and, what he was famous for, while getting the message out of the tarot cards for what it is maybe that we have some kind of fear in our life that we need to draw attention to or resolve. So we're just gonna dig in and see what comes up. Guys, this is gonna be really fun. Get yourself comfy, grab something to drink, whatever it is you do to relax, and let's have some fun for Friday the 13th. Dun dun dun. So here's a little bit of an introduction to Edgar Allan Poe. As I learn, you guys can learn with me if you don't already know this. So he was an American author, an editor, a writer, a poet, and a literary critic, and he hailed from Boston, Massachusetts. Now, he was born January 19, 1809. Now, that makes him a Capricorn sign. Just a little side note. Now, he died, or he transformed out of his physical body on October 7th of 1849, making him just 40 years old when he passed away. Now that's pretty young, but you have to think back to the time of when Edgar Allan Poe lived. It was right in the middle of the tuberculosis crisis. During the early parts of our country in the 1800s, your life expectancy, you got to be your 40s, you were an old man. He was a champion swimmer. He actually was a college dropout, and he published his first book at just 18 years old. He's best known, for his short stories and his poetry, particularly his tales of mystery and macabre. So macabre is that disturbing and horrifying involvement with just his depiction of death and injury. He saw the dark side, and instead of, being fearful of it, he kind of embraced the dark side, was able to be creative through it, which is very interesting. He is regarded as a central figure also of romanticism. So although he had this dark side, he was a hopeless romantic, and also he was into gothic fiction. So I'm okay, what's not to like about this guy? Now, I know no rumors about him or anything to distort my opinion of him so far, so his death seems to be a little bit of a mystery though. Most creative postmortems have suggested that Poe could have died from carbon monoxide poisoning, from spending too much time indoors breathing in too much coal gas, but they did tests on his toenail clippings post-mortem, and the tests were inconclusive. But you think about their testing abilities in 1849, they weren't very good back then, were they? So there's been a mystery about how he actually passed away. Other possibilities include mercury poisoning, suicide, murder, cholera, rabies, syphilis, influenza, and a brain tumor. With all the mystery and the darkness surrounding his life, it's kind of funny how his death ended up being a mystery, falling right in line with everything about him. So one of his most popular writings is The Raven, poetic anthem, becoming popular at the time because nearly everyone had been touched by the tuberculosis epidemic in such a profound way. So he wrote Lenore, and he wrote The Raven during this time. And most people that were living in that period of time experienced paralyzing grief because there was so many deaths. You could lose all your family members. It was a really, really dark time for society, actually. So Poe is a literary master of, the dark romanticism, the macabre, and the grotesque. He embraced and used that energy of that darker side to be able to create. So through his pain, through seeing the suffering and the grief of that time, Poe created. Aside from exploring our shadow sides and shocking us with his contradictions, Poe believed that imagination could help connect us to the spirit world, says in the guidebook. Poe's stories and poems connect with and bring up what's blurred in the subconscious, or what we have called blind spots that we can see in our natal birth chart. So the choice, energy is fluid and ever changing. So as you listen to these fun messages for Friday the 13th, where we go a little bit on the dark side, take what resonates and leave the rest, knowing that you have free will and every life choice is yours alone. No matter what the cards reveal, you have influence over what future experiences you would like to have. Remember that the purpose of these divinatory tools like tarot is to clue you in on what may lie ahead, people, events, or energies that could remain the same. So it's one timeline that you're drawing attention to. It's one energy you're looking at, but energy is fluid, so anything could change. So when you listen to tarot, you just have to really listen to it for an open mind and not look at it about its outcomes, but look at the messages that you find in the tarot. And Poe recognized that and he utilized that. So I hope you enjoy this series, and we will see you over there if you dare. All right, Capricorn, let's take a look at your Edgar Allan Poe spread. We're going to do the 4 chambers of the heart, 4 cards. This spread will help determine what your passion is and what is holding you back from pursuing your truest desires. All right, the first card position is your challenge or your fear. We've got the strength in the reverse. Second card position, second chamber, we've got your passion, and that's the moon card. The third chamber, we have the catalyst, and that is the 3 of cups in the reverse. And card number 4, your path home, is the 8 of swords. So let's dig into this. We'll get some clarifiers and see what is going on here, starting with someone is in a state of fear, someone is trying to find the strength, someone is trying to overcome a mindset or a way of thinking or fear itself. And that's how we're starting your reading, Capricorn. All right, so the strength card, number 8, it's a major arcana. With 4 cards, we have 2 of them are major arcana right from the get-go for you, Capricorn. So I want to go to the Edgar Allan Poe book and read the story about the strength card, Telltale Heart, okay? Which is the 4 chambers of the heart, is modeled after his short stories called The Telltale Heart. So Annabelle Lee is strength because she had such a powerful influence over Edgar Allan Poe's emotions. Her gentle demeanor has subdued the lion, her subtle control has tamed the beast, and although she has died, her enchantment remains unbroken. So this Annabelle Lee more or less, just had a spell over Edgar. He was madly in love with her, and even after she passed away and she transformed, he still was very, very enchanted with everything about her. And Poe never wanted to leave Annabelle Lee's graveside, and so all the night tide I lay down by the side of my darling, my life, and my bride in her sepulcher there by the sea. So he would, go to the cemetery or go to the tomb where she was buried, and he would sleep there on the grass to be close to her. I mean, he was very, very in love with her. After her death, the very thought of her still completely dominated his life. So it was as if, her energy never left. He still just stayed completely connected to her, kind of like, twin flames do in separation. So in the image, the sky is ablaze with color, alluding to passion, love, courage, and devotion. The infinity glyph symbolizes the eternal reservoir of strength that can be accessed through will, courage, and confidence, and that's the twin flame symbol, the infinity symbol. This card is in the reverse, although like we just read about, usually it's a card of having power. In the reverse, this is saying that someone is fearful of not having influence or losing control of their emotions. They're trying to find the strength. They've been unable to tame the beast, although they have tried to subdue control. So this could be someone who has these deep-seated emotions, and they've been denying them and suppressing them and putting them down and saying, I'm not going to deal with it, I'm not going to acknowledge it. Yet they still keep building and building. And like Edgar, even after his love had gone, his emotions never subsided. They just continued on. So this is a character that has been unable to subdue this strong emotional pull that he has possibly towards a divine feminine. So I wanted to get a card to clarify the strength card, because this is our challenge or our fear. And I've got the Page of Wands. Now this depicts actually a divine masculine running from the devil energy. The dark side of himself is depicted by the devil. The side that whispers in your ear and tries to plant things subconsciously in your mind, those fears, those doubts. Don't express yourself. Remember what happened last time? It was a disaster. Your life fell apart. So you're connecting the fear of that experience and bringing it into the future. And it's one of the energetic blockages for people, is that they assume that their next experience is going to be exactly like the last one. So we have to get out of that mentality. We have to, turn off that ego and know that any emotion that is from a fearful state, let me read it from my wall. It says, don't take action on your negative thoughts and emotions. They are messengers to us, telling us that there's something out of alignment, that fear doesn't align with your highest timeline. If you could look into a crystal ball, you would see that that emotion you're feeling of fear is false. Well, how do you know that? Because it's a negative emotion. So it's not the true emotion, because we're love and light. Our highest timeline doesn't have any of those negative low energy vibes. So those low energy vibes are the indication of when we are out of alignment with what is really truth. So the fear of expressing your emotions is not the truth of how it really will be. Okay? That's deep. That's going down the rabbit hole. He also could be fearful, of letting go again. Fearful of the influence that she could have over him if he opens up his heart and expresses himself. But look at Edgar Allan Poe. In that tale, he wrote about the love he had for somebody. He wasn't fearful of expressing himself. It was the best thing about him. It was the best thing in his life, and it continued well after her physical death. It was that powerful. So, instead of looking at the emotion of love as something that's negative, and bad for us, we need to look at, that emotion of love as the most powerful energies other than authenticity that we can embrace. We are our strongest. It is where we are tapped in. We're in the flow of the universe. So to be fearful of that unconditional love, our tainted 3D world and our experiences that we've had in our relationships have really tainted that idea. And we're trying to have a different perspective and look at it through a different lens and saying, you had to learn that lesson, but now you're here, you're in a different space, you're a different you. You're not going to have the same ending. It's not the same experience, okay? So let's go to the second card position here and see what we've got. And that is going to be your passion. So this divine's masculine's passion is the moon. The moon represents the divine feminine. That's the gravitational pull. So let's look at the moon card. And this moon card is unique because it has two characters on it. There's a duality. There's a mirroring going on here. So twin flames possibly. Maybe we're getting some of that energy. And this is card number 18. And you see that big moon. We had a super blue moon August 30th. We had the new super full moon in Aries. So we have a battle going on, the revealing of two energies that are kind of standing face to face, kind of a stagnant standstill. And the moon is putting a light on the fact that this is stagnant energy. But let's look at the book and see what Edgar has to say about the story attached to this card. So the Telltale Heart says, in the story, William Wilson, oh my gosh, that's really funny, that's my last name. William Wilson attends school near London. He is haunted by a doppelganger who is also named William Wilson. So he has a twin. He has somebody in his life that has the exact same name that haunts him. So the energy of that person haunts them. Oh my gosh. The doppelganger talks like him, walks like him, dresses like him, and shares his birthday. He mimics the original William Wilson's every action. Okay, this is really interesting, you guys, because what did we say? This is that divine masculine's passion. And to me, it seems like he has found his match in every way, shape, or form. But let's keep going. It says that William Wilson becomes a drunkard sharp. His doppelganger exposes William's mischief, causing him to flee England. It's as if the doppelganger is William's conscience. The pattern continues for years. Finally, when he interferes with William's subduction of a married woman, William challenges his doppelganger to a duel. After slaying his doppelganger, William looks in the mirror and says, "Mine own image, but with features all paled and dabbled in blood." This image depicts two men facing one another with swords. The swords point skyward, representing the higher mind. The full moon, symbolic of dreams and our intuition and the subconscious, shines bright above, revealing this situation. The floor on which the men stand is mirrored and reflects the conscious and the subconscious. So this moon is suggesting that someone may be hiding important information from you, that communication is murky at best, even betrayal may be at hand, and it's using your intuition to uncover secrets and work your way through illusions, right? This could also represent, the dark side of themselves, the side that, they're trying to balance out, that ego side. When we turn off the ego and we start listening to, our higher selves through our heart and through spirit, then we're able to tap into our intuition. That's how our gift of insight, becomes very clear. And as you go along, it's sharpening. So this is saying use your intuition to uncover secrets and work your way through these illusions, the illusions of the ego. Be wary of entering new relationships at this time. Nothing is what it seems in the moon's shadows. So there's a lot going on right now behind the scenes that maybe a divine feminine is not aware of at the time. But we've got the divine masculine being in fear, trying to find the strength, trying to talk himself out of these delusions of the ego, these things of the past, these fears. And, he's running away from the devil. He's running away from that energy, and that can mean people, places, things, our thoughts, our belief systems. There could be numerous things that this divine masculine is running away from. But this says subconscious fears can come back to haunt you. You fear moving forward based on the past. This is what we've been talking about. So you must face these fears head on if you wish to progress. Once you plumb these depths, you'll be better able to cut through deception and illusion and get the heart of the matter in unclear situations. So as soon as you stop functioning through the ego and you listen to your spirit guides and you tap in and listen to your higher self, that heart space, then you step into your power, because then you don't have to decipher people in your lives and situations and decisions through your analytical mind, that overanalyzes things and does lists and pros and cons. Then you're able to tap in and from the heart space. If you run everything you do through the filter of what would unconditional love do, should I call this person? What would unconditional love do? Should I apologize to this person? I just saw 144. What would unconditional love do? If we change the filter away from the ego and the fear-based operating system that rules this entity, this meat suit that we've entered into as a spiritual energetic being, and we tap back into source, into the light, into our energy, then it's not so difficult to step forward, because there is no fears anymore. There's nothing to be fearful of. And this says that the moon reflects our innermost thoughts and dreams. It reflects our feelings, both negative and positive. Take time to meditate, journal, and take stock of your values and needs. Pay attention to the messages you receive through your dreams. Now, the Cancerian Syrian reading, I believe, pulled the classic horror card dreams, and it was all about, writing down when you get up in the morning if you have a dream, like jot down notes, because there's a lot of energetic messages coming through dreams right now. So if you just are perfectly aware of it when you wake up and you've got a notebook there or a voice recorder, you can do a little MP3 and just briefly, document your dream, what you remember about it. So we've got the passion is the moon. It's bringing things to the surface, bringing light. It could be facing an external situation. It could be facing and balancing an internal situation. Okay, so moving along here, let's go to the third card position, and that is the catalyst. The catalyst for wanting to get past their fears, the catalyst for wanting to tame the beast, put that ego in check, and wanting to come in and reveal things like clear the air. Kind of like this person wants to express their emotions, and it's very difficult for them because last time they did it, it really bit them on the ass really hard. So they're trudging very lightly. So the Three of Cups in the reverse is the catalyst of why this is transpiring right now. Now, usually if you look at this card upright, there's three divine feminines at a masquerade party, okay? And this could just resemble, energy. But let me read you the story about the Three of Cups in Edgar Allan Poe's guidebook, because it's kind of interesting what these three people were doing here. So they come across, you think of Cinderella and the stepsisters, how they were mean. I mean, when I see these three together, I kind of looked at them as, like trouble. Now, this card is in the reverse, and we'll look at that after, but here's the story about these three divine feminines. It's called The Mask of the Red Death. Prince Prospero has invited rich nobles to hide out in his abbey as a plague sweeps through nearby villages. Now, the plague he's talking about here is tuberculosis that happened in the early 1800s. I mean, it wiped out thousands and hundreds of thousands of people all over the planet. So this Prince Prospero barricades the front door and the guests, and they're all going to masquerade and party until the plague has burned itself out. So their idea to escape something difficult, to escape the darkness, was to lock themselves down in isolation and basically party their ass off and, just completely avoid what was going on in the outside world, okay? So in this image, three women make merry at the masquerade. They hold wine glasses, they smile, they toast one another. Ha, look, we've avoided all that. We're safe inside here. We're doing our thing. All guests are in denial that the Red Death will visit them soon. Now, that's what they called the plague, the Red Death. They enjoy themselves even as the Red Death stalks the crowd. The guests don bright colors symbolizing joy, freedom, and cheer. So just by them all getting together and locking themselves into one place, bringing the tuberculosis in with one of them as a virus carries from person to person, it then became just a building of incubation. All these people were attending, so they thought they were escaping it, but they didn't at all. This is, in the reverse, is the catalyst for this person doing what they did is that they've lived in a time of self-indulgence. But that self-indulgence of just thinking about themselves has brought them to be, very lonely, and they've been in isolation. So they don't want to live that way anymore. They don't want to exclude themselves from, unconditional love. It seems to me like this character, this divine masculine, is really going through a change here, and it includes leaving some belief systems and mentalities. It includes putting that ego in check and healing that overinflated part of ourselves, which all of us go through this as we spiritually ascend. That's cleaning out the denser energies in our chakras. So the final card I have for you, Capricorn, and this has been a little bit of an interesting reading, and this is your path home. Now, the Eight of Swords normally depicts someone cannot see the truth, someone is not getting communication, because swords are communication and thoughts. In this card, we have a divine masculine that's actually in a coffin, and the Eight of Swords are up above him like they could stab him at any time. It's a dark evening, it's late at night, and in the story, the premature burial, a man is terrified of being buried alive. He suffers from catalepsy, a disease in which he falls into a death-like trances without warning. His reasons that if he's found in a trance, he might be mistaken for dead and buried alive. So he basically has these seizures where he's going into a trance and he looks like he's dead, so he doesn't want people to bury him alive prematurely, thinking that he's died. It's called catalepsy. So he avoids sleep and is afraid to venture outdoors. He devises an escape plan should he ever be buried alive. He enables his family's tomb to open from the inside. He attaches a bell to the tomb so that he can call for help should he wake inside the coffin. So this is somebody that is, deathly afraid and has a fear of just having something completely overwhelm him, right? Something that he absolutely cannot handle. So he's devising strategically, an escape route, having a backup plan, like a plan B, so that if he ever gets in that predicament, he's protected. So let's put that to the state of, emotionally expressing yourself to somebody. Not having any expectations is a mental preparation. You kind of have to be prepared that if you express yourself and somebody says, well, I don't reciprocate those feelings, well, that shouldn't destroy you. I appreciate you being honest. I know that was, brave, and just accept that expressing yourself should not be a doom or gloom. It is just a form. It is an action of being authentic, and it doesn't have to have any kind of ending attached to it. So this man's fear is not completely unfounded, it says. One night he falls asleep in a boat. Upon waking, he screams as he believes he's been buried alive. He's met by men who tell him he had only fallen asleep in the boat. He realizes that he has been wasting energy by living in fear. He chooses to let go of his fear and his catalepsy disappears. So he recognizes that he's been living his life entirely fear-based and letting it control him, more or less keeping him in a self-imposed prison, right? So the path home for this divine masculine is to release himself out of that prison, to release himself from those false beliefs, those false ideas that aren't true, that don't align with who he is right now or the energy that he's in. So in this image, a man has been buried alive within the soil. We see the 8 swords pointing down around the man. However, the swords never touch the coffin or the man, indicating that his ability to escape his mental anguish and circumstance is simply a choice. It means this divine masculine could have released himself out of that self-imposed prison, out of that mindset, out of that coffin at any time he wanted to. He kept himself in that mental anguish himself, and no one could release him out of that thought process, out of that fear of expressing himself other than himself. And the only way we get past our fears is to actually do exactly what it is we're fearful of. So I'll tell you what I had to clear out today, and I'm going to close this message for you, Capricorn. I'm doing the Friday the 13th readings. I'm getting them ready. I'm having a blast. This is one of them. I'm working my way through the alphabet. I'm on Capricorn. And what was kind of downloaded to me today as I was driving around the parkway, having fun, taking pictures, really early on today, it was like, if you're gonna help people get past their fears, what fears do you have? Have you looked at your fears? And one of the fears I've had my entire life is public speaking. Why? Because I've been humiliated publicly before, laughed at, like when I was young, like laughing stock multiple times. So that kind of brought a fear-based emotion into my life where, when I was college age and adult, I would avoid public speaking like the plague. I finally had to take it to graduate for one of my degrees. But the point of this is me on camera, me public speaking. You hear my voice now. You don't see me on camera. It's something that I have been working towards, and the universe has shown me that is a fear I have to release. If I'm gonna talk the talk, I need to walk the walk. So I'm looking at equipment equipment right now and what I can do next to kind of start being more visual with you guys, have my readings be more live. But all of this has kind of been a practice for me, getting used to things. So what it says is that, our path home is overcoming our fears. It's taking that step out, and kind of hanging it out there and going, I'm not going to bring those things into the past, into my future any longer. I'm the co-creator of my universe. I can have any experience that I want. And if I go into it with the energy of fear, then what happens? Where our attention goes, our energy flows. You're going to get that negative feedback back, that negative energy. So you do it with a positive mindset. And I'll tell you, once you go and you fight that fear and you bust through that, you get through that door, your whole life opens up. I have a saying, life begins when you leave your comfort zone. So Capricorn, are you debating doing something really kind of scary, getting out of your comfort zone? Are you going to shake things up here? Is that what you're debating? We see this story of this divine masculine, how he went through this process and he's overcoming his fears. He's got what looks like, a fire lit. He's got a very good reason, for making these changes in his life. It's not any fun battling ourselves our entire lives. Our energy can be put towards something much more greater than ourselves, which is right now, the ascension process that we're all going through right now. So smash that like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe so you can get my next readings that are going to come out around Halloween. I appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with me, listening to these Edgar Allan Poe tales. I just wanted to change things up, and make this like Tale of the Tarot something fun to do where we can, have not such a serious undertones, but we still get the spiritual messages through the tarot. So you guys have a great rest of your evening or your day, and we'll see you at your next reading. Peace and love.